Evening folks, Wes here. Another record collecting thread response video. I'm going to start off here. I'm going to respond to Aldi's thread. Came up with some pretty good questions here, so I thought I'd go ahead and answer these. Get right into this. It says, the first question, what skills have you developed over the years in terms of judging condition of a used record on the spot, and what's your success rate of making an accurate evaluation of the condition of the record just by looking at it versus the results you hear on your turntable once you get home to try it? I mean, it varies. I mean, obviously you can look at it and see like scratches or if there's a lot of dirt or something on a record. The hardest thing I haven't really been able to figure out is groove wear and when there's dirt just ground into the record. So those are the two things I've had a hard time trying to learn. I'm trying to learn like the lightness of what happens when you get groove wear, just to try to learn how to find that, because that's a very common thing on the 50s and 60s records that I buy a lot, the folk records and stuff. It's people put them on record changers with heavy arms and just totally destroyed them. And sometimes it's not easy to see groove wear, but as soon as you play it, it sounds like crap. So it's really annoying to get home and have a record that just sounds like crap and you end up having to throw it away. So I'm trying to learn, but I'm still at the early stages of learning how to look at it to be able to tell if it's any good or not without actually playing it. Hope to get better at that. So, question number 2, do deletion holes in album covers bother you? I'm kind of the opposite of Dan in this respect. Holes don't really bother me. Cut corners don't bother me, but the freaking saw marks, oh my god, I hate the saws. It makes everything frayed. It causes the seams to split. It's just, I hate when they use a saw. It makes everything just, it's ridiculous. I don't like saws, so punch a hole or cut a corner off, that's okay with me. It's going to definitely knock off what I'm willing to pay for it, but I prefer that much over the stupid saws. 45s, pro small holes or pro large holes. I don't really collect 45s, so it's not really much of an issue for me, but I would prefer if they all had small holes. You wouldn't have to deal with a stupid adapter. The adapter annoys me. Yeah, it's nice to be able to put your finger in a hole, but I mean, they're 7-inch records anyway, so you can grab the center of the label even if it doesn't have a big hole. So it's not that big of a deal to me. I guess I'd prefer to have the small hole. And number 4, 78s. How many have you broken before learning to manipulate them? I've never owned a 78. I don't have anything to play them on. I don't know. Not really any interest in having any, I guess. I mean, I know there's a lot of music that's only available on 78, but I think they sound really terrible. And just not interested in collecting 78s at all. I may buy one at some point at a thrift store just to have one, because I think they're neat. It's just as a piece of history, but never owned one, so can't really answer that question. Number 5, in your country, which label made the best vinyl and who made the worst? I don't really know best and worst based on labels. I mean, we had like Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab did a lot of half-speed masters of different albums, and I mean, it's really good quality vinyl. And then on the other side, you have like this Dynaflex flexi discs that were around in the mid-70s, and those things are thin and they don't sound good at all. But I mean, a lot of record labels made those really thin discs, so I don't really know if it's a specific label or not that makes good vinyl or not. I mean, a lot of times A lot of times I'll look at a record and it'll be like really bubbly and the surface will be pimply and stuff, and you can tell, you know, it was, the quality control wasn't there, but I haven't really narrowed that down to a specific label or anything. Number 6, do you or can you read grooves? No, definitely not. I mean, I've sort of looked at them sometimes and looked at the patterns, but never really tried to study anything into it as to what it meant or anything like that. Number 7, tell us about the worst decision you ever made while shopping for records, either leaving behind a record that you regret not buying or a bad purchase you regret making. The worst decision is probably back in the early 90s when I first started collecting. There was a thrift store I would go to a couple times a week. It was on my way to work, and I just dropped in and I would buy a stack of 10 or 20 records at a time, and you know, the owner was really friendly with me, and he would only charge me $1 no matter how many records I got. It was $1 for the whole stack. You know, I could stack up. Sometimes I'd have a stack of 30 maybe. It would be $1 for 30 records. It was ridiculous. So I wished I'd bought a lot more than I did. I mean, at the time I was in my teens. I was 16, 17, 18, you know, in that range, and my musical tastes were kind of still pretty narrow at that point, and I know there was just a ton of stuff I just passed up that I would love to have now, and I regret not buying as much as I possibly could because they had an entire room that was nothing but records. You know, that was the early 90s. CDs were you know, really starting to hit their strides. You know, everybody was buying CDs. Everybody was dumping their records like crazy, and they just got gobs of it. That's why the guy sold them to me for $1 for a pile of them, because he was just getting them in constantly, and just regret not buying a lot more, not knowing what I was seeing. And I think back to some of the stuff I saw and just like, man, I would love to have that now. And at the time it was just groups or whatever that I wasn't really into, but yeah, I regret not buying more then. Now, you know, vinyl's sort of making a comeback, and it's a lot harder to find, and people think it's valuable even if it's not, and they want to charge you, you know, a couple dollars for junk records sometimes. It's a lot more difficult than it was, so I definitely regret not buying more when I had the chance to buy them at 20 for $1. And final question, show us your favorite record for children if you have any. Don't really have very many children's records. I had to really think about it, but I did just recently listen to this Chipmunk's Christmas album because it's holiday season. It's pretty neat. There's a story that goes along with this, and then there's some songs they do, and it's a fun record, and I enjoy it. So I have that. So thanks for making the thread, Aldi. Some good questions. I hope you all enjoyed watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.